Super. So I would like to welcome all of you for being here with all of you during this our last session. And I do hope that this will not be the last for us. I hope that we'll see sort of communication between all of us in the future. I know that Asami and Anton was working together, right? In something.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah,
that's right.
So I do hope to see this sort of collaboration at some stage in the future with all of us. Yeah, hopefully we'll see. Yeah. So the main target today is to have presentation from you, like very short presentation about the project that you think about. And maybe after each presentation, we have some question from other, just comment and get some knowledge exchange. And after that, we will have sort of maybe half hour or so just to get feedback from you about the content of the workshop, if you like it, if you don't like it, how we can improve it somehow. Because as you know, we will run another workshop with the same content first week of December. So it will be great that I get from you the feedback in order to improve the next one. So I don't know who would like to start. Maybe.
All right. Give me just a second to share my slides in that case.
Yes, please.
And I'm assuming everyone can see that?
Yes. Yes.
Fantastic. Okay, so I think, what was it? A couple of weeks ago, we talked about our proposals, and the one that I came forward with was a course that I'm actually going to be designing anyway as part of, well, just a course I'll be teaching on the master's program here in the Department of Linguistics. Now, it is at, level of design was supposed to be taught as a single person course, but I thought that it would be nice to adapt it to some degree for the purposes of our presentations today to reflect how it could be turned into something more multidisciplinary. And I, really welcome your feedback on both the nature of its multidisciplinary and maybe even the structure of the course outline. Any and all comments are welcome. So before I get started further, the course proposal is a course I'll be teaching called The Neurocognition of Bilingualism. Now, just to give you a bit of background on this, the course is primarily aimed at master's students in the MA Multilingualism in English program. So we can reasonably expect some background in linguistics from these students, but not necessarily a whole lot else. And that will become important as I kind of go through the course outline. The course is supposed to be about a semester in length. So given the sort of standard course length here, that's looking at about 13 weeks. And the general makeup of the course is that it'll be split into the various topics with associated lectures from researchers from either other research groups or other departments. Now, just to give you guys a bit of a background, so this frames the pitch, if you were, a bit better. How many of you here, just quick show of hands in the chat or otherwise, speak more than one language? That's at least 2 of you. Okay, fantastic. So the idea here is that why would we even care about bilingualism in the brain? What connection is there? The really elevator pitch overview is that when you speak more than one language, they are both constantly active in your brain. And in order to facilitate successful communication, you've got to actively select one. So in the case that we're all using English here, you're using English and then either selecting that and inhibiting the other language. This has pretty consistent and meaningful implications for both brain structure and function, and then cognitive processes related to both language, but also stuff that has nothing to do with language. Okay, that's the general overview, that we want to basically teach the students why this happens and what implications this has for both language outcomes, but also non-language outcomes. So the course outline I envision as being the following. We'd start off with an introduction, just broad brush overview, bilingualism and neurocognition, take care of some general definitions like what is a bilingual. Basically set an overview for what the course is to come. Then I think the next best thing to do would be to introduce them, give them a recap of language and the brain. How is language represented in the brain? What does that look like? The first thing to do would be to give them a guest lecture of an intro to neuroanatomy and neurophysiology. Bear in mind, these are all linguistics students, so won't have a lot of background necessarily in the brain side of things. So someone either from psychology, for example, would be great to come in and give that lecture and give a good overview of those topics and then the methods we use for measuring this, like EEG or MRI. We then want to follow that up with both the language overview and then the neural correlates of language in the brain off the back of that guest lecture, basically integrating what they learned in the previous lecture into what the course is about. We then follow that up with psycholinguistics of bilingualism, so basically what we know about the language outcomes of more than one language in the brain. That would really be taught in-house because we are the linguistics department. Then we get to some more exciting stuff, bilingual effects on the brain and cognition, kind of what I just told you about in my little elevator pitch of why this might be important. So the first thing we'd want to do is get a guest lecture in on what executive functions, which are just a really broad term for these attentional control mechanisms that we all use in our daily lives, and how those are instantiated in the brain. I could see someone from psychology giving this would be a really helpful thing. So basically give an overview of what these things are, how we know they're measured, how can we bring people into the lab and test for these things. And then we'd want to integrate that into the course by following up with a lecture on the mechanisms for how bilingualism would affect these. We then want to shift gears into so this is at the level of behavior. What does this look like in the brain? Because bilingualism not only affects behavior, but we know can restructure the brain. So here would be a great opportunity to get a guest lecture in on neuroplasticity. So how does the brain restructure itself? What does that look like? The methods we use to measure and analyze this literal change through time. Again, psychology or clinical medicine would be a great one to collaborate with for that kind of a lecture. And then again, as before, integrating that into the course, looking at the research on bilingualism and neuroplasticity. What's the connection there? What are the mechanisms for that? In the last couple of lectures, we'd want to shift gears from a general overview of bilingualism to more of this across the lifespan. Now, there is some research showing that bilingualism actually can act as kind of a lifestyle factor that can slow down the effects of cognitive aging, basically keep your brain young for longer. I'm happy to take questions about that if anyone's interested. So again, here's a point where it would be really good to introduce what do we mean when we say aging and neurocognition. So someone from clinical medicine might be great to give this. We have some colleagues who we're working with anyway. Give it both an overview of how the brain naturally sort of degrades through time. This is a completely normal process. And then look at some protective mechanisms, some lifestyle factors like exercise, diet, educational level, and otherwise that can kind of provide sort of a protective mechanism against this. Then we'd want to discuss bilingualism as another potential one of these lifestyle factors after that. Finally, it probably would come as no surprise to anyone on this chat that bilingualism is not a one-size-fits-all phenomenon. The way in which you use your language is going to vastly differ depending on the context you're in. Were you living in, say, Norway or the United Kingdom or Spain or the US? The way in which you would have to engage with the languages you speak would vary widely as a function of where you are, how long you've been using them, do you need to switch between them regularly, et cetera, et cetera. Now, the idea of individual differences would be a pretty key one to discuss. So here I would envision a guest lecture from either psychology or otherwise, really getting into the details of what individual differences are, why they're important in psychology and or linguistics, how we measure them, how we map these sorts of things on. And then we'd want to get into individual difference in language experience. How do we measure that? What are the potential associated behavioral outcomes of these individual differences in bilingual experience? What are the language outcomes? And what are the brain outcomes? So that was my very quick presentation. Well, I hope I kept it to about 5 minutes. That's the pitch.
Yep. You know, it's up to you. You don't need to make it 5 minutes, 5 minutes. We are flexible. We are here like 5 or 6 persons, so this is okay. But I think this is great. You know, you have this different topics, different lecture, and each lecture with theme, and then each theme can be taught by like as you said, physiologist or clinical doctor or so on. So I have 2 questions, one related to the workshop and one in general, but I would like to leave the floor for other, maybe someone else has a comment or so.
Sigve,
Yeah, please, Sigve.
there were a lot of lectures.
Yeah.
So regarding all the other topics that were taught here regarding interactivity and so on, is there anything we could I was really intrigued by the lectures because they're all interesting to me, and especially if you have highly skilled people and getting all of these guest lectures. But can we do something with interactivity here?
You know, that's a really good question. One of the things that might be really nice is to have kind of a practical day. So, you know, I mentioned a bit about the methods we have to measure that. Obviously, it's not necessarily that feasible to take them, you know, the students to the hospital and show them the MRI scanner. But for example, we could give them a, you know, a day looking at EEG, you know, and do a kind of a practical hands-on session. You know, this in real time is what this would look like if you brought someone into the lab. Some seminars would be good. So not only lectures, but scope for discussion of some research or otherwise would be good. Did you have a particular point in there that you think one might be good? I can always share my slides again if you would like.
No, I don't remember a specific point where it depends. Probably you know best which fields are best adapted to more like a kind of a discussion or a case approach. But I'm intrigued on the availability of guest lectures. You probably have a big research network, so you can do you get them? Do you think you can have them digitally, or do you get them here to Tromsø?
You know, I hadn't considered the idea of doing them digitally. So getting people from other universities to do that. I was thinking, you know, we have some collaborators in psychology and clinical medicine who might be ideal people to give a guest lecture on some of these things. But I could definitely see a way in which getting people in from other universities might even be as or more useful, you know, given relevance to certain topics. That's a really good point, Sigve.
Yeah, just to broaden the scope, not only UIT, but maybe other universities. Yep.
Yeah, there's definitely a way that might be able to happen. Tends to be when we invite people in externally, they tend to just talk about their own research because, you know, that sort of makes sense. But, you know, if there was a way in which we could get them to give kind of a general lecture, yeah, that would be great. The logistics of that, I have no idea how that would work, but it's a good idea if it was possible.
And if we speak about this online thing like Zoom or Team or so on, I think for logistic as well, it will be sort of easy task somehow. Yep. So maybe I have one question for myself for the structure itself. So you are aiming to run this course. Or this is just
something like it,
suggestion?
yes.
Okay, so
there will, as I mentioned at the beginning, the idea had been this was something that I would have to necessarily teach mostly on my own, but for the purposes of our discussion, I thought there may be a way to adapt it to include these guest lectures and bring people in who are have more expertise than I do necessarily in some of these topics, right? So,
but do you think if you ask the head of the institute that you would like to invite people to give some lecture of your course, this is okay for the institute? Or
I would imagine, although I don't know if I would necessarily ask the head of the institute. I would just have, I would ask maybe the lecturers or researchers themselves if they have an hour to spare, and if I could pay them back in due kind by doing something on bilingualism for one of their groups, right? So that's kind of how I see that going, something a bit more informal than necessarily you have to do this every year, but it would be great to make use of your expertise, and if you have the time free, fantastic, right? So, or take it to a point where they just do a lecture on their research, but pitch it in such a way that the students learn about the underlying things like executive functions or brain anatomy or what have you.
And from your point of view, so if we compare the course that you are suggesting now to a classical one that has one theme, which is better for you? And which is better for the students?
Certainly more convenient just to do it myself,
Of course.
However, for the students, doing something multidisciplinary is probably better. They get more sources of input, input from people with really specific expertise, more alternative styles of input, which is always useful. Getting similar topics but in different ways is always nice to get your head around things, as it were. So it would be good to have people from other, of course, that as has already been discussed, comes with logistical issues of making sure these people can actually do this in a way that works. But if they can, then it probably is better for the students.
Yes, I completely agree with you. Yep. So maybe Asami, please, Asami.
I do not really get the who is this course designed for? Who should come?
So the course is designed for people who are on the master's program in the English and Multilingualism program in the Institute for Language and Culture. As I said, so these are primarily linguistics students that are looking to branch out a bit into kind of the halfway between language and psychology, with a focus on bi and multilingualism.
Okay.
So do you think, for example, me can join? It's for master student, but if someone outside interesting, because what you present actually very interesting.
If you are assuming you are associated with UIT, I don't see an issue with that happening. I actually, full disclosure, I've been here for less than a year, so I really don't know the rules around but I would have no problem with any of you coming. I would be happy to have you. It's whether or not you could be a student on the course or just audit the lectures, either way,
just to attend, not to have credit out of it, or so.
Were I to have people who weren't necessarily just the master's students, I would probably need to add in a bit more on some assume no background. So probably add in some bits on, language, what it is, why it would be in the brain in a certain way. Otherwise, a lot of things the connections start to drop a bit, and I wouldn't want that, right?
Like very introduction layer to people who are from outside.
Yeah, so a recap maybe to the people who have done it before, but a good solid intro to those who haven't done it before. And of course, with a course like this, you're not expecting everyone here to walk out an expert, but just get an overview of, you know, what this is, why it matters, what implications it has for language and non-language.
Yep. I have one question which is not related to the workshop, but related to the topic itself. If someone he not able to speak a language, why is that normally? So if you are living in a country for some time and then you're still not able to speak the language, this is something to do with the brain. Can we train the brain somehow in order to do it?
Right. So I'm assuming you mean this would be a non-native language. Say you're in my case, a native speaker of English, you live in Norway for 10 years and somehow never, that would more often than not tend to be that you live in a situation that doesn't require you to use it. If you move to a country and, well, it's actually a great example. You know, socially, I have, you know, some Norwegian friends, but by and large at work, English is the language used most often in the department because there's so many people from other countries that aren't Norway that it's easiest to default to the language everyone defaults to when in these situations. So it's, you know, it's a good question, and the answer is usually a little more complicated than we have time for to explain in a minute, but first guess would be you need to have enough exposure to it to facilitate learning it. If you know, don't have enough, then it's more difficult. In principle, anyone can learn a new language at any point with the right input and time. It's just finding that input and time is the real challenge sometimes.
Okay, so there is no way to train the brain, or there is a problem. People has some problem in the brain that makes themselves not able to learn language. So it's just a matter of time.
Yes, I mean, barring, you know, some sort of clinical pathology, every human in the world has the capacity to learn a language in the first instance, and potentially, usually more than one language. I mean, we need look no farther than, you know, well, really most countries outside the Western world, multilingualism's the norm. You know, the US and the UK being the two examples of where you tend to see monolingualism a lot, are really the exception to that rule than not. And even there, the rate of bilingualism is growing year on year. So you know, it would stand to reason that unless there is something, you know, potentially a bit off about
a real problem in brain or so. This
then potentially, but then you would also see that before being bilingual, you would see that, you know, it's something like a specific language impairment or something to that effect. But barring, again, any clinical pathology, everyone should have an ability to learn multiple languages for sure.
Yep. Yeah, great. So I don't know if other Asami, Anton, or Sigiv, anyone has any questions or?
That's right. It's correct. So
yes.
It's what I'm telling about this is a course. The idea comes 5 years ago when a group of students of United States comes to University to Alicante, and we decided to carry out a course about this course, international competencies. The advantage is because I will put in contact with the staff of the department, and they look for the opportunity to this group of people for United States are interested in international competencies. So I developed this course for 3 years ago. However, because of the pandemic, I didn't carry out at all, and I was stopped, starting that the people from the United States come to Spain in order to carry out this workshop. As I was saying before, I found advantage in terms of Asami, because Asami work in an area that is it sounds familiar for me, but I'm not an expertise. is the area of meditations and self-confidence and all that have to do with mindfulness. So I decided to mix this project in because I think it will be suitable to speak. So can you move a little bit, Tamer? That's right. So first of all, I will stop it here. Stop it, Tamer. Okay, perfect. So this is my objectives about this workshop. So as I was saying before, the idea what I understood about design a multidisciplinary course is that this course or this workshop might be introduced in any master, in any grades, in any area, because it might be suitable for students in order to get advantage of it. And let's talk about competences. For me, the importance of international competences are essential because you can benefit from your next work, your next job, and you can take also in the when you were studying at the university, you can take advantage of these skills. So the idea was this in order to the workshop objective is getting low knowledge about to apply this competence in functional areas. As you know, I work in a faculty of economics in the Department of Management and Business. So functional areas are different areas of any enterprise, like a commercial area or about production or or human resources or wherever. So you have both sides. Both sides is the benefit that you find by using these communications, these workshops in these areas in future, and also by another objective is the productivity. Productivity, teams work productivity that they are essential by learning or this workshop in terms of leadership and management emotional skills. So another point is, so the idea of this work is based on this this benefit that leads to students in work that need to carry out in future. The benefits come from the team's work productivity that they can increase. The benefit comes from in the implementation of these competences like leadership or something about to handle conflict or personal management skill, what is called emotional intelligence. And then there is another part that this Asami wanted to talk that I put in this work of objectives, but because I'm not the very expertise, so they will talk later. But they are related to the meditation process and about improving the positive thinking or the self-esteem. So meditations might get, so Asami talk later, but I'm going to move in advance a little bit. Sorry, Asami. And has to do with the power of meditation in terms of leading stress, to get better decisions, to carry out, to make better decisions, because this stress is very normal in the company. So this is a way also because improving conflicts when you are fed up with someone, so you need to stick to these competences. So the contents of the workshop has to do, I divided in 4 parts. I tried to diminish my content of words in order to put the information of Asami. So the first content has to do with what is called the key emotional intelligence competencies. There are different of them. One of them is decision making, for instance, that is essential in the academic projects. You need to carry out a presentation, or you want to discuss with your professor in order to carry out one project or other, or for handling conflict. Sometimes we are fed up with someone, and because we are under stress, we can get good decisions. So handling conflict and solving conflict are essentials in those key emotional intelligence. Apart from that, well, I put some idea in terms of leadership, what involves leadership. The second point is about communications. Communications in different areas, how you communicate better, ways of communicate. Communication is all. Information communication is very linked to. This is very important in terms of communicate, how you get better ways to communicate to people. I put something that they are very familiar to me. I'm explaining in other areas, that is all the body language. The body language this is the other way to communicate, as we communicate both with normal communications, face-to-face communications, but there are another way to communicate ourselves that we are not aware about it, and we are not aware the importance about body language, how the gestures, how our decisions, we show, not only for the people that we are around us, and they reflect some stage of very stress when someone is a very position of defensiveness, or however for ourselves, that is because we improve it, we get it better. And can you move a little bit, Tamer?
Ja, da spørs det om jeg kan hjelpe.
So and that's apart from that, there are two items that I wanted to explain better. This is the personal growth.
Og det varierer.
I don't know.
Vi har ikke noen som...
Sigve, ja, takk.
Personal growth competences and mental fitness. So this is the part that Asami talk later. That's it, Asami? All right? Yes. And well, in terms of methodology, I put here in advance, I wanted to show you personal competence and mental fitness, that the terms of mindfulness, self-confidence, improving, positive thinking as well, they are essential not only for improve it in the functional areas, but in the projects of while the student is working, is studying in the academic or in the university. Well, in terms of methodology, please move on, Tamer. Well, methodology, and so this methodology is the context of the work. We will explain. We carry out different cases at class in order to practical assignments and practical exercises at class. Also physical exercises in terms of meditation that Sami explained later. So we carry out in this course in terms of methodology. So also students will work in groups. This is very important in terms of team working, because sometimes magister class, we forget it, that one of the more important issues is learning to work in teams. So it's essential, not only here in order to make presentation or stay together. However, in future, when they wanted to start the work and they are colleagues that they are not, they have different POV, and you want to work together. So this is my goal, to work in teams and students interact and with the contents and everything. Could you move a little bit, Tamer? Well, global assessment. The global assessment is divided in two parts. This is a continuum assessment with both participation in class, is 10% of the global assessment, and practical assignments about different cases, exercises that carry out in groups equal to 30%. And finally, final assessment. It's not exam, it's carry out, and another exam is my intention to carry out this course, because we are talking in competences. For me, what is essential, is suitable, is that a group of people, this group of people might present some presentation, make presentations about a plan of competences. The plan of competences might be focused on what they wanted to carry out. For instance, it might be in an educational project or a professional. Professionally, they wanted to look for some sort of competence, whatever. So make a presentation about the competence that they are essential if you are working in a department, different department, what sort of competences would be suitable for you. So try to explain competences in a functional area or department. Here is the reference. Now it's time for Asami to talk about her part. So I put this reference in terms of recommended book, first of all part, and the second part is about Asami. Asami, your turn.
Asami, is it the same presentation?
No, I do not have anything visible, but I just would like to add what my part would be. I have read through to this presentation, and I had made some adds on, but I see that it's the previous the previous form that has been sent now, but it doesn't matter actually, because I think what I have to add, if you just close it, it's okay, or if you can just look at each other. What I think is there is something that is called more the experiential approach. So, and this is something that might find its way into academics with mindfulness, but mindfulness is, well, as people do not really know how to grasp it. So I would like to explain the background for what I think I would like to introduce into this course. I think it's a perfect match. The background that about my work that I would like to present is that there is a state of mind that is based on a specific type of energy that is giving what we can call presence, or something that, well, yes, I'm maybe more awake, but I'm also having space, I'm having an openness. And in this openness, all the things that we would like to have access to can come, like having ideas, or being creative, like composing stuff, finding solutions, finding a different way of moving. So everything that moves away from safety, rigidness, just seeing one way, everything that is going into an open space, into something that we can experience as flow, where it's easy to move into different directions. This is possible often when we are in a special state of mind. And this is something that everybody knows. For example, it's like the singing under the shower. You know, you take a shower and suddenly there comes a song into your mind that you would like to sing. So this is the state of mind that you have or run you out in nature for yourself, not having all these voices that are fighting against each other. And but just being conscious about that there is a state of mind that is inviting for getting in flow, and it's also something to do with connection, with a true connection, with compassion, with being part of the field together with others. So it's a part of togetherness that arises in this state of energy that you have. You also know that there are, well, we are not in a state all the time. And it's kind of the human condition that has to do very often with what we have learned during the first, or experienced in our history during the first 7 years of our lives, that we get not developed as much in every, let's say, kind of essential qualities that we have. So there are some emotional parts that we have just tucked away that we do not really want to meet because it was not very useful in our early lives. It was not appreciated. We didn't get any further. We lost our friends, or we didn't make any friends, or the parents didn't like it, or whatsoever. Everybody has these things that are beneath the surface and keep us away from this feeling of wholeness, this feeling of having access to this energetic part in us all the time. And I can call these blocks, what is preventing me from getting connected to myself. And this is something that is working usually in the unconscious part. And then comes a trigger, and suddenly I am getting the reactive child that is unfolding all this suppressed energy. And this energy makes us suddenly being just like the slaves of our reactions. So we are not the grown-up any longer that has access to ideas and problem solving. So suddenly we are just reacting kind of little beasts or animals or whatsoever, just dealing with this trigger and dealing with this energy, dealing with emotions that come up that we do not know how to handle them. And it's very much, especially in relations, that this comes up and we do not really know what to do about it. And we really feel like, oh, I am dependent on what is happening here, you know? And as long as you have no access to make these psychological triggers conscious, you or everything that is slumbering inside you and just pops up in situations, you will always be dependent on your history, on, oh, what did my mother and my father did to me? And there is different kinds of, I don't know, as many spiritual schools there are outside, as many approaches are there to getting into this other state of mind where I feel open and flow and having access to everything. And what I want to bring into this course is just presenting different ways of approaching this inner these blocks, or getting more conscious about that we have access to an energetic level. And there are different approaches, and I would just like to introduce several things which are addressing the different layers of the unconscious that are triggering and steering us. And the first or the easiest level is actually that we have a voice that is giving us comments all the time. And this is I call it the inner judge, or it's like a commentary that is I have all the time. So it can be against me, it can be against others, and it prevents me from my openness, because when I'm commenting on things all the time, when I'm having all these thoughts about judging all the settings around and myself, I cannot have access to what's really coming up. So this is the first lock that I would like to address. And there is another possibility. So everything that that is connected to these blocks is actually being inside me and can be accessed by just getting conscious about it. So when and this is a process where I can lead people through by getting in a different energetic state. And when you're in the state, you get aware of a block that is sitting somewhere in your body, and everybody can promote in a way visualize this. And so there are different approaches where I can deal with these blocks, and dealing with these blocks is not just removing them and then they're gone forever, but I would like to introduce a possibility to work with them. And working with them is making them conscious and not running away, but staying with it. And then a process of unfolding is happening. So this is something that you cannot make, but you can invite a process that is working actually in this making conscious, and this getting aware what is going on in myself. Another possibility is something that I would also like to introduce. It's a very effectful thing that is called feeding your demons. And there your blocks are appearing, or you can visualize them. And by this is kind of process where you integrate the other part that you have locked out of yourself, which is kind of part of yourself. And then by feeding these visualized locked out parts of yourself, and you introduce you invite these structures to be your allies, and then you can incorporate them. And I think this is also a very effective way to work with your blocks. And another thing is just the meditation to get aware of in which energetic state am I, and just to get much more aware of where am I now, and just giving you space, giving you awareness, and the introjection. And this is not just that people sit and meditate, because you can sit and meditate for years and well, yes, and nothing is happening if you're not aware that you need to invite a different energetic state. So this is also something that I would like to introduce. Yeah. So this is my part I would like to contribute with. But I think this is just the invitation for a lifelong process. But life is very much different when you have access to the things that are happening inside you all the time, and just getting conscious about them changes everybody's capacities. Actually, you can really get access to much more when you are working with what is trying, you know, you're not getting access to your full potential as long as these unconscious processes are happening in yourself. And I think everybody should know that it's possible to work with it. It's possible to get access to it, and it's possible through the integration of all these processes that you get much more authentic, and you invite your real purpose, what you want to do, and you will see that your endeavors will land somewhere where it really makes sense. And this, I think, is really for everyone. So and I think it's very nice if there would be the possibility to develop a stage for it.
Hello?
Yes.
Yes. So you are asking about the possibility to make this course, right?
Yeah, and I think it's perfect, you know. Also through this to merge these courses, this workshop, with something that is really aimed towards, I want to go somewhere, I want to do something, I want to develop myself, you know, and I so not just to sit and meditate and to look inside, but I think this really is going towards a purpose of what I'm doing. Why am I learning all this stuff? Because, and where do I want to go, and how do I succeed? You know, and this combination, I think, is really perfect.
Actually, you get the question from myself, so you asked me, but I was about to ask you, are you planning, you and Anton, to run this course? Because I think this is very interesting topic. I don't know if there is something here at university to teach these things or not.
Well, yes, there are probably some meditation.
There is some,
or awareness, but I'm not sure. I'm not sure if this is something on permanent basis, and nothing for everyone. So I would be very happy to make this happen, actually.
Yeah, super. So maybe we can discuss this, because I think this course is very interesting topic at all the level, as you said, because, you know, any person need to discover him or herself. And if we came to the people who are working in academia, I think this is very important, because these people are under stress all the time. So I think this will be very, very useful for them. So if you agree, you can think a bit about time for the course, you and Anton, and we can run it through this Cloud Earth project. And this means that we will get academic and non-academic and maybe students from the 5 universities that involved in this project. And maybe next semester, that will start in February, if this is okay for you, or maybe sometime next year, like a workshop or condense. I can see that the structure of the course, it will be take more than 8 weeks, right?
Antonio, are you there?
Yeah, I can hear. Yeah.
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 So
Sorry, I cannot to switch on the camera because my computer is consuming a lot of resources, so I can talk to my microphone, only to my microphone.
yes.
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah.
Yeah. So do you think this course in general,
Yes, I
your
agree,
part
yeah.
and your semi part will take sort of 8 lectures or so? Something around?
When you said lectures about my part, I can. You said yes, yeah. You say that the people can participate in the contents of the workshops. You said, or was your goal? I have no point.
My point, if we will run this course next year, it will take
Okay, yes,
8
perfect.
weeks, it take 12 weeks, just the time frame of it.
Yes, it's a semi. Well, we can make a proposal to the cloud, so and say put the proposal here online or wherever, or so it's up to you, online or for students or here in Alicante, so we can discuss these issues, and so for me it's not no problem and to put this course in the e-cloud, her cloud, and so students or whatever.
Yeah, super. This is great. So maybe we can come later together. We are three, just discuss it a bit and see how we can make it next semester. And then also we would like to discuss if students can get some credit out of it.
Yes.
If there is possibility
Yes,
to give some credit. Yeah.
I'm very excited, so
Yes.
I'm very positive, and
Yes.
I think this is the perfect combination.
Yes, I completely agree. And just to reflect on that, we most probably next semester as well, we will run a workshop, maybe like 3 days workshop about the science communication. So like if you are doing
lovely.
science research, how you can communicate this using social media, Facebook, podcasts, things like this. So we are aiming to increase the competence of everyone. And I think the topic that you are, Asami and Anton, suggesting is a very important topic to discover yourself. So I think this is important topic. So
Yes.
yeah.
And also with Asami, I think it's Asami value to my point, because sometimes we are used to listen to people to talk emotional intelligence and the skills that they are needed in every functional department. So the functionality for a student is excellent because what the company enterprises are demanding everywhere more. Indeed, the be very qualified is important. It's undoubted that people to be qualified in your grades and show a little grade of intelligence, efficient intelligence. However, in terms of dealing all competence that the people, the companies are demanding more people that they are focused more on emotional intelligence. And one of the part that Sami said that is dealing with stress is that we are not aware that dealing with stress might fall our strategy. A strategy in every department. If our strategy is we are working in financial, in teaching institutions, something because of the stress we have, we are aware of fear, we are aware of some weaknesses in our body, might lead to a fail of a strategy in every department. So this is very important to know about those competences, because they are currently are very demanding for the companies, because it's crucial to have this competence. You can get it better in the department. Imagine, for instance, someone that have a high qualification, very wide qualifications, but they have not the power to do a conflict, or how do you get resolving the stress of, because you are working face to face with a health department that is very emotional, and they lead to very stressed situations. You need to custom to treat this emotional stress with someone, dealing the conflict or also dealing with the stress. So that's my point.
No, I think this is great. I think this is great, and it I can see a semi motivation for it. So I am very happy, and I am sure that we will have it next semester. So
Great.
yeah. So maybe I will come,
Perfect.
Angel. I think Angel already finished his the defense of his PhD, right, Angel? Yeah, great. Yes. So we have 2 talks more, Sigave and Angel. Do you think we can continue now, or we would like to have like 5-10 minute break? What do you think?
If I'm supposed to teach, I think I'll have the break.
Okay.
It's important. It's
Okay.
important to have breaks. That's what's the main theme. The last course we had.
Okay.
We ended up with
That's
breaks
correct.
are the most important. So.
That's correct. So maybe we can have like 10-minute break, and we can start at 25.
Yeah.
Super. Yes. Yep. So we are here back, all of us. So we can start with Sigave, and then Angel, and after that maybe we can, as you like, we can discuss after that if we will have like lunch break, or we can have the comment and then we can conclude the day. So at least we can start with these 2 sessions, and then we'll see what's the next.
Yes, let's see.
Mm-hmm.
If I get my presentation up. Mm-hmm. No, you don't actually see it. You see my let's stop sharing and try to publish this one. Blah blah blah. No.
Mm-hmm.
Leave it there.
Yeah, that's a better view. Those are my hunting grounds you're looking at. So yeah. Okay. I have tried to work on an outline for a multidisciplinary course in palliative care. So as I've told some of you maybe remember that a part of my job is at this regional center for competence in palliative care in Northern Norway. So I do some teaching for doctors, nurses, and several other professions. And I was thinking if there was a possibility to do something multidisciplinary. And that's why this course was opportunity to do that. Palliative care is the care for seriously ill persons with an emphasis on end-of-life care. So one says that about between 70 or 80% actually have palliative care needs in the process of dying. Not all of them need specialized palliative care, but they need some kind of palliative care. It might be on a very basic level. But even if you provide it at the basic level, you'll have to use a holistic approach, because you cannot only deal with medical issues for dying people. They have a lot of other issues, social issues, existential issues, economical issues. Yeah, so there are a lot of issues that needs to be addressed. And if we think at the speciality level, if problems are comprehensive, these services are provided by a palliative care team, where you have multiple professions and they're all part of this team. They work at their different departments, but they come together as a team with regular formalized meetings and regular formalized patient consultations. Oops. Okay, so the palliative care team consists of highly skilled professionals, medical doctors, nurses, professionals providing extension care, priests, imams, humanists. In Tromsø, we have priests and humanists available. The humanist has recently started, so that's quite interesting. In addition, we have physiotherapists, social workers, and then we have others on demand, ergotherapists, clinical dietitians, and we would like to have more psychologists. So I'm trying to get some money for that. So there are a lot of professions involved in this team. But in Norway, palliative care is a kind of a subspecialty of the primary profession. And for medical doctors, it's actually a novel specialty. So I'm involved on the national level trying to establish this specialty because we got a mandate that we have to do it from it was a directive from the Stortinget, National Assembly, that actually sanctioned this. So, but most MDs, nurses, and other palliative care professionals are given no training, teaching actually. So a lot of people work with palliative care at different levels, but there is very little training, especially in the process of working as a multidisciplinary team. And so you're thinking about short courses. There are some longer courses internationally, but we're thinking about short introductory courses, both in teamwork and palliative care in a multidisciplinary setting. Okay. So what I have been doing since the last time we've been talking, I've discussed the concept with the leader of the Regional Competence Center, who's an experienced teacher and course builder, and she also has long experience at the university in teaching in palliative care, mostly for nurses though. And we have talked about this before. So suddenly we had a very concrete and assignment that we could regarding this course, we could spend some hours on that. And I've also done a non-systematic literature course into different international courses, and there are quite few. There's the closest one was this first reference, which is a 1 week interdisciplinary course, European course that actually came out from Ukraine, but also with some support. There's an educational board from Austria and so on. So there is a 1 week course actually available for different disciplines. But there are a few internationally, and most are longer, and they are not really multidisciplinary. They are actually they are said to be multidisciplinary, but if you go into the curriculum, they don't do any multidisciplinary tasks. They just talk about being multidisciplinary. So just to talk about some conditions and restraints, palliative care it's a novel specialty in development, but GPs especially, they are to establish a palliative care team around their patients in their communities. So they are kind of ad hoc members of palliative care teams. And they can have short courses with a minimum of 15 hours, and they will get credit if we apply for this. So the opportunities here also for GPs and us to make something. Other specialties mostly don't have palliative care courses available, while there are major providers of palliative care. Exceptions are oncologists and geriatricians. They have actually formalized courses for this in Norway, but no others. So we could even have other specialities, not only GPs. For nurses, palliative care is not a speciality, but there are master level courses, but they are not multidisciplinary. But it's easy for nurses to get some days off for relevant short courses if they don't cost too much. And other professions don't have official competence levels in palliative care, and courses are scarce. So we need to keep costs on also, especially for the nurses from the communities to be able to attend. So we were thinking about this new palliative care multidisciplinary course with a target group. All professions involved in palliative care can apply, but focus on the most prevalent members of palliative care teams in the region, with medical doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, extension workers, like humanists and priests and social workers. We will apply in advance for official credits for post-qualification education. So we need to have about 15 hours. And we were thinking about a 3-day course, which is short enough for being able to get people to attend, at least at the basic level. And it will be long enough to secure credits. So we're thinking about a 3-day course with 6 + 8 + 6 hours, because people have to travel, so they're able to travel the same day, often with starting a bit late on the first day. And we actually want people to attend physically. We are thinking about a digital option, but we're thinking about making this physically, especially for the group work, which is a bit hard to do with breakout rooms with all the different facilitators that we need to attend. And so it's possible to do it digitally, but we were thinking at least it's actually easier to do it physically, we think, at least as a start. So we will do a mix of regular teaching, some common introductory talks, some profession-specific introductory teaching, and then we'll have group work, both at the multidisciplinary groups. So they'll have to work in group on specific cases, and they will also discuss the same cases with their same professions. So doctors will discuss with the doctors, and doctors will also have to be in groups with nurses. And so we'll actually have some training here to work in groups discussing patients, not with patients included, but how to work around palliative care issues and together. So we're just trying to set up a case-based 3-day course, starting at 10 the first day with an introductional, motivational, and practical issues, the first part. Introduction to palliative care and the multidisciplinary teams and how they are put together and different models. And then we'll have lunch, and then we'll go into how multidisciplinary team work should be. And then we'll go into, then we'll meet the multidisciplinary teams, go together, break out and go into different rooms. And then we'll go into the different professions and have some small drops of specific advice on the actual on the profession specific topics. And then day 2 is a wholly practical day, where you'll just have the introduction first, and then we'll have group work in the multidisciplinary teams that we put together, and then we'll go into profession specific group, and then you'll go back into the group, the multidisciplinary group, and actually try to solve the case. And then we'll go to lunch, and then we'll have another case in the same setup after lunch. And then the third day, we will have, before lunch, we will have the third case, and then after lunch, we will have the profession-specific groups going together to discuss specific case issues where we'll have just so that they will be able to address their specific needs regarding their professional skills, and then we'll meet together for a summary and evaluation, and actually try to get them more motivated to work multidisciplinary, and actually try to talk about the benefits of these days, if there are benefits. And then we will need one large auditorium for up to 100 attendees, and then up to 10 breakout rooms close by. So we'll actually have to need a lot of physical rooms if we are to do this physically. And we always get, when we have these multidisciplinary courses where we don't actually work in multidisciplinary teams like I tried to do here, we get a lot of nurses. So nurses are in overflow for these courses, and we get too few other. But I think we'll have to more, when trying to advertise for these courses, we'll have to be more direct to show them the benefits of this course. So we get many enough of the other professions. Then we'll need some motivated and skilled lecturer regarding palliative care and multidisciplinary team work and how to do this. And then we'll need some profession-specific sessions where we need at least one experienced professional from each profession, one experienced doctors and experienced, just wait, sorry, my dog. Sorry. And then so that we have one experienced nurse, one experienced doctors, and so on, at least. And if we get, and the priests can go together, and the humanists and so on. And then we'll have to have the facilitators, mentors of the multidisciplinary teams. I was thinking using the same ones as the profession-specific ones. But I'm not really sure if we're able to get people to spend 3 days for this. I think that will be a limitation, coming back to that. And what's not clarified, and what I'm concerned about, is should we have more profession-specific lectures, group work? We see that with doctors. Doctors want to talk with doctors. And if they're not used to working in actual practical teamwork, doctors don't want to work with nurses and so on. That's our experience. So we have to break this prejudice, actually, in some way. So we need to make it attractive enough for the different professions, especially for the non-nurses. And how to attract the right number? Do we need to be very specific in trying to directly approach the people we want to be involved? Because we have these teams and these doctors, and specifically around here in Norway, so we'll need to be very direct going for the ones we want. Do we have enough competent facilitators? Maybe we need up to 10 facilitators. That's a lot. And just talking about this in short, I think we'll have around 5 to 6 available in Tromsø that I know of. So we'll have to maybe bring some others. And then the cases, should we focus on outpatient or inpatients, or kind of a mix? Is it a hospital or general practice context? I'm not really sure. There are benefits and drawbacks of each. And I think this also, if we are to have 3 different places where we should meet, the whole group, almost to 100, and then the multidisciplinary setting, and then in the profession-specific setting, it could be a logistical nightmare. So I think we need to address this fully before we start, because this can, I think, destroy the whole course if we're sloppy about that. And then if we have a lot of facilitators and teachers, it could be a quite expensive course if you come from outside. And we need to balance that with the need to have a modest priced one. So this is as far as we came. So I'll be happy to get some feedback. This is not finished.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, thanks, Kev. So if anyone has comment.
I have a quick question because first of all, really nice. I really like the way you structured this, and I can see a kind of a clear solution to what's otherwise a kind of gap in the training. Out of my own curiosity, where you kind of mentioned there's some disconnect between these professions right at the beginning. Where in your experience do you see the sort of largest disconnects? Is, you've already mentioned doctors and nurses seem to have a bit of a issue working together in these sorts of settings.
We see that there are actually very few actually working. There are very few at hospitals working as actual teams where they address patients simultaneously. Mostly patients, they go sequential from the doctor, and they go to the nurse, and they go to psychologist, and so on. And that is, of course, that is has some benefits, but sometimes if we need to address holistic needs, we need to have the eyes of everyone present at the same time, or at least several. So we need to just sell in the concept of the team. I think that is actually part of this course, actually sell in the concept of having a team. I think that is actually one of the main things we need to try to achieve through such a course.
One other question then. So assuming these people are doing sort of rounds among the patients and everyone, how much say in this do hospital administrators have in Norway? Is this something that's decided kind of at the upper levels of administration, or is this something that's people just want to work individually because that makes the most sense? This is, I don't know the system at all here.
No, it's I think Asami knows this all too. There are, of course, economical constraints, and the way we work is highly regulated. However, actually in palliative care, we get specific reimbursements for doing this kind of teamwork. So this is actually we're quite lucky in palliative care in hospitals, where we can actually get reimbursements for doing this, but otherwise it's a bit more expensive to do it, at least up front. So this is hard actually to be able to be allowed to do this kind of team approach. It's really hard, but there are several studies showing real benefit also economically of doing this kind of approach, especially early on in patients that are going to struggle. It's better to do a holistic team approach early on, and then a lot of things are solved.
Awesome. So in that case, I do have a comment potentially. Would it be worth including as, well, I'm not sure, because it sounds like you need to change the structure as well, hospital administrators to sections of this course, such that they also see the benefits and might facilitate this ability in the hospitals themselves? Is that something that could be done, or is that outside the scope of this course?
That's interesting. Haven't thought about that. Maybe at least for a part of this, I think that could be a very wise strategy to actually sell the concept, to pitch it. If you get them to participate in some very strategical part of this, that could be wise. Yes.
Yeah, maybe just, one of the 3 days, possibly at the end or at the beginning when you're introducing the topic at all, that might be something that could be useful to have a section at the beginning where they are made aware of the potential benefits of multiple people visiting at once, or at the very least, as we said in English, reading off the same hymn sheets when they visit these patients.
Asami?
It's really a great course, and I really like this design, and I like also the idea of inviting the leaders of the hospital, but also the leaders, there should be some representatives of the GPs. I think this is really a big chunk of people that should be in these courses, and probably you will get more nurses that are working outside in the community. But I think really the GPs should be, yeah, kind of invited, get an extra invitation, and be told how important it is to be part of the palliative care. Because, well, and I just remember that when this concept of palliative care, I think it's more than 20 years ago, was introduced when I worked in Austria, and there was well, yes, there came this lady. She said, "Well, as I'm a palliative doctor," and then everybody was just the GPs were just getting crazy because they well, yes, they felt actually that this was they were not acknowledged in what they were doing all the time. And I think the approach must be, well, this is something that you're doing all the time because they're doing it all the time, but you have to acquire a little bit more knowledge, and you have to work much more in the team with others to make this really happen, and to improve what you can really do for the patients. And therefore, I think this course must be, it's important. Yeah.
I think you're putting putting the scope on something that is quite important, because we did some qualitative research regarding this. And we were asking doctors how they worked and how they did this, and we actually found that doctors and nurses, they went to the same patients, even not knowing that they had been there.
Yeah, right.
Both of them. So they went for themselves, and the patient didn't say anything. And so a lot of the time they actually started discussing, when we had this group meeting afterwards, after interviewing these people, we had a group meeting just discussing what they had previously said individually, and then they suddenly realized that they actually work with the same patients, but they didn't really know it. So it's the concept of working like this is not very. This is not something we normally do in healthcare. So I think that actually practicing and be able to acknowledge, we have to make the cases so that every profession has something for them that will benefit the patients, so that everyone sees that, oh, I wouldn't have seen this, or I wouldn't have acknowledged this, or I wouldn't have been able to provide something if we didn't have this profession here. So the cases, there are logistical challenges here, and the cases have to be made carefully. So it's not easy, but I also think that it would be interesting.
Communication has really to be central in the cases. The professions have really to talk, or several people of the same profession also have to talk around the patient. So when they have the same patient, you know, this is even a challenge in hospital. We all know that.
Yeah, we all know that.
The one who's seen a patient yesterday doesn't know what the next doctor is going to do, or the nurse.
No. And I think that actually selling the message that multidisciplinary teams are a very good approach. Actually dealing with the complex challenges is maybe the most important thing.
And one other comment. I think when I can imagine that it's really a challenge to get the facilities with so many breakout rooms to get everyone to discuss together. And I think really, why not daring to start out on a, for example, a Zoom meeting where you can arrange all this It's, the only problem is everybody really has to participate, and there has to be a setting when you can see the people. But otherwise, I think when everybody is inviting and participating, then you and you see each other and talk to each other in the group, and I think it's quite a feasible setting, which would also deal with all the expenses of a course when people have to travel and find a hotel room and everything.
This is something that we discussed because there are advantages. I see it. It's quite actually easier in a way to streamline the course digitally. But the actual group work, we were a bit concerned about, especially the group work part of this. So Bente, the leader, she said that okay, maybe we could try to divide this into different days. So that even though it's a 3-day course, we can have 2 days where they participate physically and 1 day digitally, which would save costs and so on.
Well, I have the experience from, I have been in spiritual retreats, and then, well, due to Corona, these retreats were actually being made digital meetings, and everybody was skeptical. And you really have to connect to each other when you're doing things like that. And it worked. It's really amazing. But when everybody is really present and showing himself, and not just like, well, yes, I'm listening to something, and then I go and grab my coffee and have my lunch. At the same time, when you're really present and you're inviting the people to actively participate, it is possible. And the group works are amazing, actually.
I think there are. I also, my experience is that it's much better than I thought, if we were able to facilitate this in a good way. But I think we'll just need some more experience before I would be confident on this. Actually,
I think it's quite natural that you're very skeptical, especially when you have these courses, and then you think, well, yes, you have to be personally present. And then you have all these, we have now all been having these lectures at the university, which were horrible because nobody was actually, you were sitting in front of a black screen and talking to nobody, which I really hated. But when you invite the people, come here, I want to see you, and we are doing group work together, and everybody contributes and is really present, then it works. And give it a try, and you will see that it's possible. I think I'm surprised, actually. I'm
grateful for the feedback and your experience, because I don't have the experience to really know. So just hearing about this succeeding, and also in a kind of a spiritual context, which this is in a way the same. You need a holistic approach for these patients, and it requires a holistic attention in some way. So that's why I was a bit skeptical about you being able to have spiritual retreats on Zoom and so on. That's quite impressive.
I have actually 2 questions. One of them you already answered because Sami asked it, but the second one is how you will motivate the doctors, because you said that most probably the majority will come like nurses, but the doctor will be sort of not willing to attend. How you will aim to tackle this point? How to motivate them to attend?
I have I know a few, and people who have attended previous courses and talked about them, about these issues, and they feel they are few, and they get too little specific for them. So I think instead of having a lot of lectures, which will have to balance on different levels regarding nurses and doctors, it would be better having some profession specific, and then we would have them in teams where they will use their specific knowledge, and quite actually much less of these general lectures. So I think that would be a way to do it. And I discussed this with my wife. She's a GP. So try to get her feedback, because she's participating a lot in the GP courses, and she says that GPs, they want this efficient, and you need to pass the 15 hours. So they get credits, and you have to apply in advance for credits. And I knew this, but how they are very even more stringent about this, and they are more focused on this, having these credits, and it has to be 15 hours. And while I was being a more idealistic approach that this could be useful for you and so on, they are more specific and getting the credits and getting the hours.
Focus on the credit and so on. Yeah.
So I think if we are able to do that, and they have also tried the different other courses where they have mixed courses with digital courses part of it, and then you come together for another part of it. And she said actually that was quite successful. So I think that could be an option, trying to mix the course.
Yeah, I just will.
Angel, well, where are you located?
I'm in Varna, Bulgaria. I'm from the Technical University of Varna, so it's Varna is actually a small city, I think, relatively small city at the sea at the coast of the Black Sea. So we are in the northern part of northeast part of Bulgaria, and our university deals with various technical sciences. So we train mostly engineers and bachelors in bachelors and master students in engineering sciences. We have sciences which are related to computers, electronics, mechanics, and so on. So I'm from our electronics part, but also do computer sciences. So yeah. Okay. So last time when we had the workshop, I went with the idea to have a course which is just an introductory part that looks at the modern computer and information technologies. And then this, I think, is good as a title for the course. So a little bit derivative with the idea, but I think it gives a presentation to what the course is about. So again, the title is Modern Computer and Informational Technologies, an introduction. So what is the main idea of this course? So I have some, at least at our university, but I think it's in general, I have this observation that there are many specialties and many programs that do not have something which introduces students to modern computer sciences. So, for example, let's say here at our university, we have a course in management, and the course teaches students how to be managements of different enterprises, mainly in industry, but they don't have something which gives them information about computer sciences. So it's not directly related to what they're going to do, but having this knowledge allows you to know about modern technologies, to know about what computers can do for you, what benefit you can get. So it's not necessary to be able to use them, but if you're a manager, I think it's good to be able to know them, so to know what's available to you. Also, I think this is true for many other engineering specialties, but not also. So we have people that are studying, especially in some conservative fields like mechanics or like in electrical engineering. So they want to present their fundaments, but they do not branch out to computer science. And I think computer science can do a lot for you, especially in modern computer science, which involves artificial intelligence or big data or cloud computing, cloud processing. So I think this type of technologies can aid and help a lot of other specialties. So the idea of the course is to be just a short introductory to tell you, okay, this is artificial intelligence, this is big data, this term means that, this term means this, to explain what the different persons in this field do, what are the main programming languages. So not something specific, but just to introduce you to what is modern computer science and what it can do for you, how it can do it, and that if you are interested, how to proceed further. And in this regard, I think the course can include 3 topics. I will get to them in a bit. And it should be no more than 4 to 6 academic hours. So it's not meant to teach something as a skill, but just to give you an idea what you can do with modern computers besides having fun or social media or whatever. And I think for this, the form of education will be a lecture course, which I think it will be good to be face-to-face. It can be physical, it can be online, but it's good to have somebody present and giving the lecture in order to have a broader discussion and to direct the course and the information to the specific interests of the students. So it can be online, it can be physical, but it's good for the lecturer to be present, so not just to watch a recording, I think. And then I think the students will benefit from a small exercise and a project which will be just a demo to what's said. So not something they will work on specifically, but just to have a demonstration. So for example, if we tend to explain what artificial intelligence is, just a demo on how artificial intelligence can work for you. So the target group for this course, as I explained earlier, will be bachelor students that study in different fields that classically do not involve detailed studies of modern computer and information sciences, or students that don't learn this. And I also think that it will be good to have some long life learning people. So somebody who's already graduated, who's already in business, but might be interested in that how computer science help him, or somebody that wants to branch out into computer sciences, but don't know where to start. So I have many colleagues, for example, which graduated as me as electronic engineers, but for example, the job market for electronic engineers is not so big as is computer sciences, for example, in Bulgaria. Many people want to get some courses in programming, some courses in different professions related to computer science, and they take these courses and just proceed with their career in this direction. So this course can help them to get oriented, because there are a lot of different sides to this, and different languages, different types of work that somebody can do. I have thought about the structure for this course. I think it's good to have 3 lectures. The first lecture will explain basic concepts and explain terminology. Again, it's not something that will give you definitive knowledge in this area, but we'll just explain, for example, virtual, augmented, mediated reality is, what parallel and distributed computing is, what smart devices, Internet of Things are, some info about AI and big data, because most of those things, they sound very intimidating, I think. So if I say, okay, we work with artificial intelligence, and somebody might think, okay, this is a very complex topic, artificial intelligence, but in the end, artificial intelligence as it is now is nothing more than statistics applied on a grander computer scale. So, and if you look at it at that and you know what it does, then it's not so, I think, intimidating. So this first lecture I want to present all these concepts and give just a more clear understanding of what they are. So in the second is a presentation of different programming languages and tools that can be used in the above mentioned concepts. So this will be a more dry lecture, but I would like to give it in order to present what the different options are. So for example, for somebody that wants to branch out or wants to use computer science, and if you look at what the tools and the languages are, you have hundreds of languages. Some are more programming languages, some are more commonly used, some are not, but what will work for you. So this lecture aims to just give a little bit explanation of that. And the third one, I call it what is what and who is who in computer science. This is more for people that are interested in how they can benefit from computer science, but are not going to do it themselves. So for example, this is for managers or for people who want to start their own company. So for example, if you teach students from engineering fields, many of them want to get their own businesses, their own startups. And this lecture is to present them what people they should seek if they want to implement specific technologies. So for example, do you need a programmer? Do you need a quality assurance tester? Or do you need to buy some subscription for specific platform, or do you need to develop it yourself? So this is actually the final lecture. So what is what and who is who, and also a little bit of what is next. So if somebody wants to do something specific, what is the next step? Should he take a course? Should he study by himself, or should he take a master in computer science? And then I plan to have an exercise, which again I said it will be more like a demo. So for example, at the lectures, I think this will be good to have a discussion about the specific interest. So for example, if we're working with managers, then the exercise in the demo should be tailored to managers. If we be tailored to them. So what I want to avoid here is having a demo or an exercise which is not related to what the people are doing. So for example, if I'm giving this course to managers, I will specifically make a demo for them. For example, I can make them a program that analyzes company data and provides risk assessment, or a demo that allows for decision making. So for example, some artificial intelligence that provides possible decisions based on input data. Or if it's environmental science, I will give a demo that is related to that. So here, this will be floating, and it will depend on the specific group of people. And then what I was thinking was to have a small project assignment, which will be non-mandatory. But the idea here is that if somebody has interest and somebody has a spark of, yeah, this is good, I'm interested in, to just give a short presentation of a possible idea how the things that were explained can be implemented according to him. Nothing technical, nothing skill-based, just, oh, I learned about artificial intelligence and I can use it here. So, and this will be, students will be motivated to do this because, for example, for people who are carrying this course, we can give them additional mentoring on how to develop their idea. So as part of the course, for example, if someone says, okay, I have an idea that I want to use artificial intelligence to predict and assess, let's say, company profits, for example. And if we see that, okay, this idea is sound, as a part of the course, we can provide further mentoring to say, these are the steps that you need to take to develop your idea. And finally, the course will have more than usual references and further readings. So based on, again, the speciality that is teached, it will have video materials for further study or suggestion of suitable online courses or courses within the university. Student evaluation, I don't want to have any. Students that attended the course will get a pass. So again, it's not a skill-based course, it's just something to introduce students and to spark interest. And what's next? So I'm actually tomorrow, as part of the project, I will have a lecture with some students. And I have the first lecture prepared in Bulgarian. And I will do a prototype run of it tomorrow. So it will be a lecture that will present the, as I said, basic terminology and basic concepts. And yeah, I have it right. I have the lecture for first one, and I'll present it and get some feedback. And also I'm preparing a small exercise, which will be the demo for the students that I'm teaching, but I'll see if I will manage to do it this week. So, and then I think when I complete the course, it can be integrated in phase 2 of the Cloudify project and teach it to more students. So I hope this will be done. And this is basically it. So thank you for your attention, and I'm available for your questions.
Yep. Thanks a lot, Angel. So Asami, yeah, please.
Are you prepared for being run over by people who want to apply artificial intelligence in their projects? Because I really think this is great to make such an introduction, and I really think there are a lot of people out there who have projects who do not really know how to get access into this field. And I think when you start leaving your little university at your place and making this available internationally, that there will be a lot of people who will just follow the invitation to ask questions about how to realize or implement artificial intelligence and big data into their projects.
Yeah, I hope so. So I hope there is interest, because usually, I don't know, usually my latest experience with studying and teaching is that there is a lack of experience, lack of interest. But I hope for this there will be interest. Generally, my thoughts and my ideas for progress is that artificial intelligence should do the work for us. We should do just creative work. So the more it is implemented, I think the better.
Actually, I had a question, but you already answered it during the presentation. If we can incorporate this this course within the Cloud Earth, but you said that tomorrow you will have this prototype lecture. and then you are planning to make it for the next phase. So this is great. Yep. Great. So you already post this course for students. So you now know how many students will come. It will be physically or it will be online?
It will be online. It will be online for tomorrow, but I don't know how many students will join. I think it will be probably around 20, I hope. And tomorrow, actually, I will give the introductory lecture. And then another colleague of mine will give them a more detailed lecture on artificial intelligence. So it will not be part of this course, but yeah.
Yeah, but of course this will be in Bulgarian, not in English.
Yeah.
Okay.
The first round will be with Bulgarian students. Yes.
Yep. Okay.
But anyway, I'll later translate it, and we'll have it. We'll have it in English as well.
Okay. Yep. But yeah, please give.
I was the lectures, the very popular title for the third lecture kind of immediately just caught my eye when I was looking through this, and yeah, what's what and who is who. That to me, normally I would think that would be in the beginning of the whole thing, just to catch their interest. But so you kind of switched it here to the end. So you're probably trying to get them to do something afterwards to keep them motivated and for this what is next part also. So maybe that's a clever thing if you want something to change, if you want this to lead to something, to kind of have the popular, interesting thing in the end.
Yeah. Also, my plan here is that because I can, if I start with this and I say, okay, who is who? So backend engineers do this and front-end engineers do this. But in the end, if you don't know the terminology beforehand, then it will be more difficult to explain. So yeah, and as well, this is so. We get to 1-2, which could be a little bit boring, especially I think the second one will be a little bit boring for people that are not interested in programming. But then I want, as you said in the fourth one, to say, okay, so what is next? What do you want to become? What people should you search if you want to realize your project? So yeah. The interesting stuff for the last.
I think this is very interesting. And Angel, I have this personal interest for this thing. So I hope that this will be in English very soon. And I will jump to take it. And actually, I am afraid, as Sami said, that you will have a lot of people who will register for such course. So hopefully it will be a nice one. And I just have a comment for you about this, why people just not interesting to join such courses. Do you think this is something to do with Corona, or this is in general, even before Corona?
I don't know, because I have more observations for my university, but there is, even before the Corona, there was a general decline in interests at a basic level, I think, because students come, they take their courses. Again, there are some programs which are more conservative. For example, if you're learning electrical engineering, and the people there, they're just electrical engineering, and I think there is some decline in interest, especially usually people say, okay, why should I study computer science to get a bachelor? I can just go and take a course or something like that. And I don't know, just general feeling of disinterest from students. I think it's I don't know, maybe social media or availability and this instant gratification psychology, just it's hard for them to get 4 years to get to bachelor. I think. this brings some disinterest, at least in my opinion, and for our university.
Yep. So the main target of this course is to break this problem. Try to introduce to bachelor students, this is your future, and this is why you would like to have 4 years of your life just studying this.
Yeah. So yeah, basically this will be, yes. So for example, I want to get them to be interested in this field. So if they're doing, let's say, mechanical engineering or electrical engineering, to follow their course, but to know that those are tools that they can use, and those are tools that will make their job easier. So yeah, and that it's not also, I want this course to be something that presents those concepts as not something that is so complicated, because I had recently talked with one of my colleagues. She teaches marine, I don't know how to say it in English, but they're the one that built marine infrastructures like docks and things like that. So naval architecture, yeah, it's naval architecture. And I said, okay, do you think they would be interested in something just to speak about computer science? And she said, oh, no, they don't want to hear about programming and things like this because they think it's too complicated. But actually it's not so, especially if you want to use it, you can, you should know how to use it. And if you can get the right people to do the job, it's, I think.
I think it's really necessary to know more about these topics, even if you do not study computer science. So just think of me as a medical doctor who is doing research. I'm working with a whole lot of big data, and I need over short or long time to get access to the right tools to work with these data and to use artificial intelligence to get to a conclusion. And actually for me, it is very difficult to, well, I know people who know how to work with these data and how to apply artificial intelligence, but they are so horribly busy that I cannot make them proceed with my project. So it's really a big problem. You know, on the other hand, there are people who say, well, when I say, for example, that data like the Tromsø study, you know, it's really, really big. And then there come other people who say, well, it's an epidemiological study where you are looking at data, an incredibly big amount of data of the whole population nearly here, or the population over 40 years in Tromsø. And then there come other people who say, well, they have the same type of data from other places. And then you want to combine all of them. And then you want to combine them with all the information that you have, for example, stored in the hospital and the patient journals and the imaging. And there are a lot of good ideas around there. And then when it comes to, well, how do we extract these data, and how do we make one database out of all this information that we have? And then how do you apply artificial intelligence for different questions that I have? You know, then it's suddenly nobody's there.
Yeah. I think this is, yeah, I think this is a problem of, I think we have it here as well, in this term that, for example, we have a lot of students that attend computer science courses. So actually in our university, the major part of the students is in the computer science department. So it's they have like 25% of the students in various courses, like including we are starting now an artificial intelligence course, which will be dedicated on this. But the problem is here that all the students go to the business and nobody stays as a PhD. So, for example, we don't have people to do the research here because all of the students that graduate go into business. And I think the problem is that this profession is relatively easily accessible. So it's quite easy to become a programmer, I think. And then it's very highly paid. And most people go into different businesses. And there is, I think, less people which are willing to do research in this field and provide solutions that are not readily to provide a research and development solution. So I think this is what is happening. It's because it's easily available to many people, and then it's very highly paid, relatively highly paid compared to other engineering professions. And there are very few people in research.
Yeah, I have the same case here. When I applied for this Cloud Earth project, I contacted people at physics department who has a sort of center for artificial intelligence. And the answer was very short. We are very sorry. We have a lot of projects going on and we don't have enough time. So I think the main problem that, you know, there is a need for this topic, and the people who are working in research on this artificial intelligence thing is not able to cover all of the opportunities. So I think this is the point. Yeah, I have only one comment for you, Angel, and then we can go for lunch. Will you record the session for tomorrow?
Yes,
even
yes.
you will record it. Okay, so
Yeah,
you can send it to me and I can share it with other students from Bulgaria, because you know I have a list for a lot of students from Bulgaria, but maybe only few of them will attend the lecture, so I can share it with them.
Yeah, I will record all the lectures, so it will be a series.
Yep.
And maybe at the when I have something ready, I will share it so we can upload it.
Super, great.
Okay.
Great. So do you think we can meet at 1:30? Just for 30 minutes, just to have your feedback, and then we conclude the day. So I think maybe we can finish at 2 also.
It's okay for me.
Super. So see you in 1 hour.
Great.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.